Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. So, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video on what role to do, excuse me, and what you should do to improve your role. So, one of those things was using WoW Analyzer. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go through WoW Analyzer and how to use it. So to start off, what we're going to do is we're going to have to use two websites here. One is Warcraft logs and the other is, of course, WoW Analyzer. Now, if you're in a proper raiding guild, probably have someone logging your progress. If you're not in a raiding guild, someone still might be logging. I personally log pug runs. It's just stuck in my head when I log now. So what we'll start off with is if you've never used Warcraft logs, what I'll actually do is I'll open another Warcraft log. So the one you were just looking at were my logs from a, what were we doing? It was the Mythic Radiance of Ashara kill that we did. So let me get, so what you do, maybe it's easier to explain once you've never done it, is you come onto the website, you search for your name. So obviously my name is Mohammed. You find your character. So obviously I'm on Doomall on the US server, and it will come up with your character. What will happen then is it will have your rankings. So for example, Mythic, Heroic, Normal. As you can see, I've killed all three bosses on Mythic. So this is for DPS. You've got healing here, and then I think damage taken, isn't that right? I've never used this. No, damage done to bosses. So obviously I don't DPS, I heal. So if we change it back to heal, you can see here. So if we change that to restoration, overall by item level is, there's a bracket. So for example, if I'm level 430 to 433, we go on Radiance of Ashara. Here you will see the passes. So obviously this is progression. So it's not very high at the moment, I have to admit, but as we kind of get used to it, I think we've killed it twice. Kills ranked two, is that? Yeah, I've killed it twice. But you can see improvement as I'm going along. This fight is horrible for restoration shamans anyway, because you have to keep moving, and restorations moving is horrible in the long run anyway. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on this. This will take us to the log. Doesn't matter if you were in a pug, doesn't matter if you were in a raid group, it will just show you overall. So what you'll need to do now, this shows you obviously what passes you did, and if you would like a different video on passes. To me they were really confusing at the start because of the requirements when I first started raiding in a proper guild. But it's something which once you know how to do it or what to do, you'll be good at it, and you'll understand it. So as you can see here, you can see my name here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to WoW Analyzer. All you need to do is copy and paste the URL. So obviously I'm in healing. If you're DPSing, go in DPSing. I don't know how to do the tanking one. I'm not really sure, but it will still show you what you were supposed to do, if that makes sense. So we'll go over to WoW Analyzer. We'll put paste in here, and we'll do it automatically. And it will show every single person in your raid, and it gives you quite a lot of detail. So I think this is the average. So the average item, the neck level is 58. The average item level is 429. Shows how many tanks, healers, DPS. And I don't know what, I think that, is that range DPS? I've never seen that before. I've never noticed that before anyway. But I think that's range DPS. So what we'll do is, as you come along, this is the raiding group that I'm raiding with at the moment. Here I am. I'm not going to show anybody else's because I don't think that's very fair. And this is what it should look like. So it shows your name, it shows your class, and what spec you're in. It shows what boss, it shows all the phases. It's very, very in detail. What we'll do is we'll check the overview straight away, and what it gives you is a checklist. And what will happen is there'll be certain things that are on this checklist which are ticked. If they're ticked and the bar is high, it means that you've done that correctly. If things are unticked, it means you can do those things better. And we'll come to those things as we go down the list. So, for example, in this fight, I use my core spells efficiently as possible. So what it is, if you click this arrow here, it brings down this drop box and it will show you all the things that you did. So I was using Unleash Life as more as possible, Earth and Wall Totem. Riptide I wasn't. as you can see here, it shows that I was only using it 67% of the time, which I could have used. So looking at this, I know now I need to cast Riptide even more. Cloudburst Totem, I don't know how it's 101%. That to me makes no sense, how you can use it more, an extra 1%, but I can see that I'm using it enough. Again, with Earth and Water Totem, I was putting that down as soon as I had it, and I was with Cloudburst Totem as well. Using cooldowns effectively, I was using Healing Tide Totem effectively, and I was using Spirit Link Totem effectively, so that's really good. Maximizing Tidal Waves, so for Shamans, you have a buff called Tidal Waves, which reduces the cooldown on Healing Wave and Healing Surge, and I was using those quite well. Unused Tidal Waves, I think this means that I didn't use all of them as I should have done, as you can see on the little bar here, but I was using unbuffed. So I was using Healing Wave all of the time when it was buffed, so I was never just casting it without the buff, which is really, really good. AoE spells, all of these the same. Really, you're doing it correctly. If we go down to mana, so for healers, this is the problem. Using all of your mana efficiently. So what should happen in a fight, what should happen is you should never get to the end of the fight with mana. Now, with the Memory of Lucid Dreams essence, that can be very hard to achieve, and I think if you go into the mindset of using your mana all of the time and try and get it depleted, you may run into a few problems of mana management. So I rarely, unless I'm really kind of pushing it to the edge, actually have this checked. But you should be using the amount of mana that you have, but just be careful that you don't overspend your mana at the beginning to try and get this checklist ticked. And then you don't have enough mana for healing spells at the end of the boss. So this one I take with a pinch of salt. So what I mean by that is just kind of see, it really works to what your class is. So for example, I could sit there spamming Chain Heal, and what that would do is use my mana really quickly, but come 3/4 of the way through the fight, I might not have any mana left. So just kind of judge it on whatever your class is and what you feel comfortable with. Being prepared is something which is really, really needed, and especially when you're mythic raiding like I am at the moment. So you've got to make sure that you're enchanting your items, so your weapons, your rings, using a pre-pop potion. I didn't think we were going to kill it straight away. We did, using a high quality pre-pop potion. So they're at the moment including the greater potions. Flasks used, we used cauldrons, food used, we put feasts down, using high quality enchants. So I've got the highest quality enchants on my items at the moment. Take a look at Icy Veins. I will put a link in the description on what your enchant should be. They're all under the class guides. Take a look in there in the consumables. It should show you what potions you're using, what you should be using, what flask you're using. Just be a little bit careful. If you're with a pug group and you don't think you're going to progress really far, I'd say, because these things cost quite a lot of gold, not to use high quality ones. What Icy Veins will do is it will give you a low quality one that you can also use, which is really, really useful, especially for people who don't have a lot of gold. I'm normally sitting around the 50,000 mark on gold, so using high quality enchants isn't that bad. 50,000 gold isn't a lot of gold by any means in WoW, but it is useful when you're using your consumables. Using a second potion, I didn't do that either, and using a high quality food, no, because I think we used the sanguine, I can't remember what it is, the old deer feast, but we are now, because we're getting to the point where things are getting harder, because we're stuck on Lady Ashvane at the moment, we are using the proper feasts. So what this also does is it gives you suggestions. So what we're going to do is we're going to not click the minor importance, but I'll tell you what it does. So what happens is it will give you major things that you should be doing, and it will tell you exactly what to do them. But then if you click that, it will give you minor things, so just things that they could try and that you could try and improve on. So I'll give you one example. So try to cast Healing Rain more often. So it is a minor because I did cast it most of the time, but I cast it 22 times out of the 35. Again, Radiance of Ashara, Healing Rain. I've got to kind of preempt where we're going to be so people if I put the healing rain down and the storms or the tornadoes come, then we're moving out of the healing rain. So I've got to try and, with everything else going on, it's very confusing sometimes. But what it says here is I kept it on cooldown 63% of the time, when I should be really doing more than 70% of the time. Now, if we unclick the minor importance, these are major of the things that you really should be looking at. So again, if we look at the bottom here first, it does obviously say about the mana, and 10%. You should be around about 10%. So 31% isn't great for me. I think I must have used like my essence, the Memory of Lucid Dreams, or something like that. But again, like I said, take it with a pinch of salt. What we're going to do here is we're going to have a look at try to cast Earth and Wall Totem at times and positions where as many people will be taking damage as possible inside of it to maximize the amount it absorbs. Okay, so what this means is I'm not putting it in the correct places for it to absorb as much damage. Again, this fight, you've got to preempt, people are moving around, and it's very hard because we're never stuck in one spot. So I've got to kind of think about where we're going to be to put it down. Try to cast Riptide more often. Now, I am really surprised that I didn't do this, because I'm normally putting Riptide down instantly. I must not have done this time, but I cast it 53 times out of a possible 80 times, and I kept it on cooldown 67% of the time of 90. So that's a kind of overview. What we're going to do is we're just going to have a quick look through the rest of them, because this is really, unless you're looking really in depth of what you're going to do, this is kind of the basics. Statistics. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, but what we'll do is we'll quickly just look down. So this obviously shows you your stats and the values of what you're doing. Distance moved, if you need to know that. Mana gains from Resurgence was 37k. Shows you tidal waves usage, which is really good to kind of see what I was using it on. So obviously I didn't use them all of the time. Again, because we're having to move, I can't sit there for 3 seconds and kind of, I know 3 seconds is like, oh my god, it's instant. But when there's tornadoes around you, I'm telling you now, it really isn't. Heals per set. So DPS, obviously, I did barely any DPS. I should have really been doing a little bit more, but I think we were trying to concentrate on actually getting it done. So my heals was 78% of the time. Active time was 69%, so I was always doing something 69% of the time, which seems that's timeline, which seems wrong, but that's obviously what it's saying. Average healing rain targets 5.4, so that's pretty good since you can only heal up to six players, so that's pretty good. And the mastery benefit was 29%, so that just tells you a little bit about your mastery. Average chain heal targets out 4, again, that's pretty good. 10% efficiency, that really wasn't good, so I'm going to have to take a look at that, but again, this is good to know that I was doing this incorrectly. Healing contribution, Cloudburst Totem was pretty the most. Cloudburst Totem is unbelievable talent. Seriously, if Resto Shamans, if you're not taking Cloudburst Totem, you're doing something wrong, because it's unbelievable. Unleash Life was doing 9, that's good. Earth and Wall 1, again, need to look at that. And Healing Tide Totem was 7%. It tells you what I was using Unleash Life on, so obviously I'm using it on Chain Heal as much as possible, because it buffs Chain Heal and it bounces off, which is really good. Items, so this is the Azurite the Azurite traits. So Overflowing Shores, first trait and second trait Overhealing. The Healing Done was 427k. You've also got Soothing Waters, which is another Azurite trait of mine. It shows you the healing there. Also shows essences now, so it shows what your this is my Mark 2. It's a shame that it doesn't show Mark 1, the Memory of Lucid Dreams, but rank 2 it gives me 257 intellect, and it gave me, I don't know what MP5 means. Mana per 5 seconds, I guess. It gave me 146, and it actually gave me 13,000 mana, which again doesn't sound a lot, but in them tight spaces it's really useful. Bracing Chill and Wolf Pact, again, they're Azurite traits. your mana pool. So if you do get that recommendation to use your mana more, take a look at this mana pool, because it kind of shows you where you should be using more mana. So as you can see here, I was kind of on the way to using as much mana as I should have done. However, I should have really used more mana here, and to save people who were dying here, I should have been using more mana. Mana usage, again, it looks really complicated, but it's just heals per second, what mana you would do, what mana you had, and what mana you were using. Mana efficiency, it's really good, like I said, to show mana and what you're using. So I was using Unleash Life perfectly, Cloudburst Totem good, and again, because I'm moving, I'm not using the same abilities as much as I should be. Mastery, it just shows people in your raid whatever they were doing. So obviously our Mistweaving Monk was using their Mastery perfectly. I was using it pretty well, but I was doing the most healing because I actually out-healed him. Abilities, it shows you so much. So it shows how many casts. It just shows you how many times you cast things and the time on cooldown. It's really useful. So let's take a look back up. So the next kind of these couple here are quite complicated, but there are something if you want to look into are really useful as well. If you want to see a little bit more in depth in what you're doing. But the last trait, the last tab we're going to look at is the character tab. So it obviously shows you stats on pool, so your crit strike and all them sort of things. What you are wearing, obviously, and you can mouse over these and they will load after a little while to show you what they were. It shows you your talents, your artifact, sorry, not your artifact, your Azerite powers. So as you can see here, I was using Overflowing Shores as much as possible. But this is the bit I really want to look at. These are the statistics on the fights, on the top 100 logs by hills. So what it does is it actually shows you what trinkets are being used the most. So, for example, 40% of the time, the Ascended Alchemist Stone is being using. I don't actually have that one. I don't know why. Oh, I haven't made it yet. The Luminescent Jellyweed, that's weird to say in my mouth. And it just kind of shows you what other people are using. You know when I was saying about the Cloudburst Totem? Here you can see what talents people are using. So 95% of people in the top 100 logs of Restoration Shamans are using a Cloudburst Totem, and only 4% are using Downpour, and only 1% are using Flash Flood. So as you can see, this is a talent that you should be taking. Same with High Tide. Now, I have to admit, I like Wellspring as a talent, but on this fight, it's appalling. So again, just another quick recommendation is when you go into a raid, take some time to change your talents, or books, whatever you call them, because some talents use different things. So for example, we use Earth and Wall Totem on this fight. However, on Blackwater Behemoth, we use me and the other shaman that I raid with, we use the Protection Totem to res people who die when they're not buffed. But it kind of shows what people are using in talents. Now, that is a really good Graceful Spirit. Again, if any of you are Resto Shamans out there, is an amazing talent for this fight because you're moving so much. Having Spirit Walker's Grace taken to 60 seconds is unbelievable, and with a 20% movement speed is really good, especially when you're in form as well, of getting away from those tornadoes, because they do follow you. And here is the most used Azerite traits. So I actually don't have I think I have Spirits on a new Azerite piece that I got, because I got the mythic headpiece off what was it? I think it was Behemoth, actually. Yeah, I got it off a Blackwater Behemoth. And I like Overflowing Shores because I like Healing Rain. So that's WoW Analyzer. I know this video has gone for a little while, and I know I speak really fast, but hopefully you've got an idea on how to use it. And please, if you're looking to raid and you're trying to get to those high levels of raiding, please use it, because I tell you what, it's unbelievable. Some things that I was doing and I was like, oh my god, I thought I was doing these right. So for example, I wasn't using Cloudburst Totem before I looked at this when we were doing the Battle of the Zara Law. But I looked at this and I was like, 95% of people are using it. I think it was actually 99% of the time people are using it. It's unbelievably powerful, and I didn't know it because I didn't check this website out. So I will leave the link in the description to check it out, and please do, because I tell you what, it's unbelievable. I am doing a couple more videos with my Warlock and my Rogue. However, the Rogue, we may be changing to a Hunter, but that's a different story. Once again, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.